You guys, it's been one hell of a reading week. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film, Dead Whisper. So, weekly reading roundup time, my favorite time of the week, because I get a chance to speak to you all about books that I've been reading, get some book recommendations in turn from you all. We can chat about it in the comments, in the Discord, on the Fable app as we do our read-alongs. So I'll give you some progress updates on that. And if you want to join any of our read-alongs, it's not too late. We just kind of got started in January. And there's some break months for the various read-alongs that we're doing. So there's plenty of time to catch up if you'd like to. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now on to the books. So as I mentioned, and as you can see from this pile, and this is not even everything, by the way, I have another one on Kindle that I read. So I'm going to put the thumbnail up here. But I decided to try to read a few different books at the same time because it kind of helps me, especially with dense fantasy books, things where there's a lot of world building, character arcs, and it just gets to be a little bit complex to keep in your mind. So I figure balancing things out with various different genres helps to kind of quell some of the reading burnout that can tend to happen when you're trying to get through those pages. But, I always like to say that it's important to always enjoy the ride. So I've been deliberately trying to slow down this week, and ironically, slowing down has gotten me to speed up in some way because I was more attentive, more present, and more purposeful and intentional in my reading. So let's talk about the first book that I read, and I actually just started this today as of this taping, so I haven't gotten very far, about 30 pages so far, but it's only a 300-page book, the shortest book on the list, and that is George Orwell's 1984. So I've been wanting to read this forever, and then actually in high school, I remember there were 3 different pathways you could take in our, I think it was 10th grade or 11th grade reading. And one was 1984, another one was East of Eden and by John Steinbeck, and another one was, I forget what the third one was, but basically you could choose one of these 3 different paths and do your projects on those. So I ended up choosing East of Eden, and I've always wondered what 1984 is like. The third one was Fahrenheit 451, so maybe it was 9th grade. I can't quite recall. It's all a blur now. But anyways, I chose East of Eden by John Steinbeck, loved it. And I've always been curious about 1984. Of course, Big Brother's Always Watching has become a prescient theme of the times, especially now, people's kind of worry about government and everything like that. I figured this is a good time to pick this up, so I just started it, and I gotta say, already I can tell George Orwell was way ahead of his time. He's talking about, being able to communicate on video monitors and stuff like that, and like things that I can't recall when this book was written, but it was, I think he lived to about 1950, if I remember correctly, so it had to be before then. So the fact that he had the self-awareness to kind of think about these things, it's really fascinating, actually. And it's like, I read this and I go, it doesn't feel that dated, honestly. Even the way it's written, I've read books from the 30s and 40s, and there's a writing style, colloquialism that's kind of very much of the time, and I don't feel that with 1984. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. I think that I will probably fly through this, because I just sat on the couch half an hour ago and got through 30 pages of this, and I wasn't, trying to rush through it. I was just enjoying the ride. So I'm excited to see what 1984 kind of ends up being in my own mind, but so far, loving the ride on this one. The second book I read is part of our official channel read-along, the Malazan Book of the Fallen. We're reading the 10 Very Big Books by Steven Erikson. This is military fantasy. It's got a ton of continents, 300,000 years of history. We had read the first book, Gardens of the Moon, in January, and we are reading book 2, Deadhouse Gates, in February. Really cool cover. I don't know if you could see that well, but there are 2 hounds here on either side. Looks pretty cool. And it's significantly bigger than Gardens of the Moon, and they just keep getting bigger from here, hence the break months. But I finished book 1, which is, there's 4 books in this book, right? So it's like 4 sections. I finished book 1, and I gotta say, from the prologue, it's automatically a quantum leap forward from Gardens of the Moon, which I enjoyed on this read along. So, I thought that I was going to find it much more disjointed than it ended up being. I was able to follow most of it. I will say in this, as the world starts to expand and more of the characters start to come to the fold, it is getting a little bit more confusing. But again, there's a trust the process mentality when going and reading Malazan or Malazan, tomato, right? As I always like to say. And there's a little bit of, kind of trust the author, and he will guide you in the right direction. So, some of the characters are similar to Gardens of the Moon, but there are a lot of new characters. A lot of kind of takes place in a completely different area of where all these, kind of all the regions that take place in this series. So it's cool. It almost feels anthological in the sense that it's like, hey, we checked out these characters. Let's focus over here for a little bit. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it, actually, because it kind of gives you a break to explore something completely new. I know that can be a turnoff for some readers, so just letting you know, temper the expectations at the outset. I think it will really help you, as it has been helping me. But this is definitely taken a dark turn. Already, Felison's character, and what she's going through. I'm keeping this all spoiler free, of course, but what she's going through is pretty dark. The prologue, oh my god, it is horrifying. But again, the way Steven Erikson writes this stuff is beautiful. So you're both in awe of his beauty of his prose and horrified at the material. So I'm loving this so far. I'm looking forward to kind of reading this further and seeing what happens in this. And I'm probably going to continue that in full speed ahead this week. So what else did I read? So I finally finished, and I took my time with this one because Janny Wurts' books deserve for you to slow down, take it all in, word by word, page by page. And that was book 1 of her Wars of Light and Shadow series, Curse of the Mistwraith. Look at this beautiful cover, by the way. She designed this cover as well. So she painted this. Amazing. And it's as beautiful as her prose. Now, I will say, I've realized with this kind of a book, it took me about until the 40 or 50% mark before I really got a handle on the prose. Not to say that the prose was too dense to understand or anything, but it was my own reading speed. I noticed that the way I read is just on the faster side in general, and this book literally forces you to slow down. So I was kind of trying to figure out what is the optimal reading speed for me to be able to digest this prose, but also not get hung up on the words and let it kind of flow into the story. If that makes sense. I think there's a balance in the speed you read to get the most out of it. So I was kind of really trying to figure that out. And of course, there's a great big bombastic start to the story, and then it kind of slows down to allow for more character depth. And, she's a master of subtlety when it comes to Erathon, Master of Shadow, and Lysier, who represents Light, the prince, right? They're half-brothers, and they have a very complicated relationship. So I finally finished this. I read like a couple hundred pages this last week, and I gotta say, I can see what the fuss is all about. I mean, I really think that this is going to be one of my new favorite fantasy series. I think like Janny Wurts balances the interplay between these two characters and like what they're willing to do to exercise their moral, to exercise them being morally in the right. And it becomes morally ambiguous because of that. And I just love that, because not is everything as it seems. You think of a character that represents light, one that represents shadow. You would think that their roles are pretty self-explanatory, right? But it's not the case in this book. And I think that it's going to get more complex as it goes. So I really like where the characters ended up. I'm keeping this spoiler-free. But if you want to join in, we're reading one of these every other month. So plenty of time to catch up, and I'm leaving the links to the read-along schedule, the Discord channel, and the Fable app, where you can go chapter by chapter and chat with people, or on the Discord where you could chat about the book at large and kind of get more of an immediate response. So take it at your pace as you'd like, but I'm very excited. I'm going to have Janny Wurts on my channel. I'm going to announce the the date of that live video as it gets closer. Just so I can keep you all apprised as it comes to the fold. But I'm so excited to chat with her so we could hear directly from the source any questions we may have and things like that. So I may ask you all in the Discord, like if you have any questions you want me to ask her as well, because I'm just so grateful she would take the time to be on my channel and to discuss this majestic book. And I'm really looking forward to kind of getting more context on some of this stuff and what we can expect for future entries. So that is also what I read. This is a long reading update, you guys, because as I mentioned, I've read quite a bit this week, and the last book. Oh no, there's two more. There's two more. So this is the physical copy I have, the last physical copy, and this is The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shirer. So old copy here I got at a used book sale for like $1. Best dollar I've ever spent, I think. I'm about 10% of the way through this book. This is like a 1,300 page book or something. 1,200 page maybe? 1,200 something. And so, you know, I've gotten about 120 pages in, and I gotta say, masterfully written. I don't know, you know, how you all feel about it if you've checked this book out, but I gotta say, like, it's an important book for the time it was written, and I think it's an important book for now as well. So I'm very glad I'm reading it. It is harrowing to read, but you also get an idea of the background context of how Hitler rose to power, how the Nazis gained power, and how they went from having only like a few 100,000 votes one year to a couple years later suddenly having 6 million votes, you know. And it's just interesting and fascinating in a horrifying way just how quickly things can turn on a dime when the people are angry enough, and when there's enough disinformation and this kind of thing. So fascinating read, harrowing read, but highly recommend you check it out if you have not already. And then the last book is our other soft read long for Robert McCammon's Matthew Corbett series. So I'm on book 2, Queen of Bedlam. I've read about 100 pages so far, and I'm really liking it. It's not drawing me in immediately as Speaks the Nightbird did, but I'm really liking the fact that it ties together elements of Speaks the Nightbird. I thought that this was going to be an anthology series as well, where every book is kind of a mystery of the week or something, right? And it's not like that. There's already ties between something that happens at the very beginning of Speaks the Nightbird, and then of course, you know, Matthew Corbett in the year 1703 or something in the budding New York City. So different location, couple years makes a huge difference. 1699 was the first book, 1703 I think is the second book. And you see him progressing in his career and changing as a person. So really interesting so far. I'm really enjoying it, but it's very early on in the book. I think it's like 600 pages or so. So that is what I read. What am I going to read this week? I'll tell you a little bit about that. It's going to be a short update because I'm going to read some of Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, taking my time with this over a couple months or so. I am going to continue and probably finish 1984. Probably finish it in a couple days, quite honestly, because it's that good and that fast-paced. I will be reading through Deadhouse Gates, of course. And then I will also be reading through Queen of Bedlam, book 2 of the Matthew Corbett series. So a smorgasbord of different, very different books that I'm going to be reading. So I'm very excited about that. Let's talk a little bit about this week on the channel. So my subscriber count is inching along at a snail's pace right now. We are 999 subscribers, so one way from 1,000. But it's been fluctuating up and down here and there. So, you know, these things are just the breaks, as they say when doing a channel. Sometimes things take off, sometimes they crawl to a, you know, snail's pace. But ultimately, we're having fun. I'm doing videos I enjoy. Hopefully you're enjoying it as well. If you like the channel, you want to support it, please feel free to share the videos with your friends, anybody you think might be interested. It always helps and goes a long way. And increasing the watch time by, you know, just playing the whole video at normal speed also actually helps a lot, because YouTube, you know, detects all these things in the algorithms. So even if you don't have time to watch it, if you just play it and walk out of the room, it helps a ton. So so I did a couple videos this week. I'm going to put them up here in case you missed them. But one was the official channel read-along of Gardens of the Moon review, where I talk a little bit about spoiler-free and then spoiler-filled sections that are delineated accordingly. I talk about favorite characters, favorite moments, background on it, set it to music and everything, and kind of really tried to make it a fun hype video for the first entry. So you could check out my thoughts up there if you'd like to. And then the second video I did was the 2025 book releases I'm most excited about. Now this one kind of got a little bit less traction. I'm not sure if I maybe posted it at the wrong time too. I'm still trying to figure that out because, you know, audience schedules and things like that have been evolving over the last month. So always a guessing game with some of that stuff, but you could check that out here if you'd like, and it has a bunch of release dates and things. Some that you would probably know about, some that maybe would not be on your radar necessarily. So definitely check out that video if you'd like to. And just today, as of this taping, so yesterday, by the time you see this video tomorrow, if that makes any sense at all, I got a chance to chat on my channel with Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems, a wonderful booktuber, wonderful human being, and we both read Speaks the Nightbird, book 1 of the Matthew Corbett series. So we did an hour and change long discussion talking about it, spoiler free and spoiler filled as well. So if you want to know more about Matthew Corbett series, what makes it so good, the themes that are tackled, Robert McCammon's writing style in general, just kind of hear both of our thoughts about that. One from a horror book aficionado like Cliff, and then me from a historical fiction and other genres aficionado. So you kind of get multiple perspectives there. And you can check out that video up there as well. And, feel free to dip in and out. If you haven't read it yet, there'll be spoiler-filled sections, in the back half of the video. And for those of you who did join us on the read-along, hopefully you can get some more context to your read as well. Would love to know in the comments what you all think of it as well. So next week, or I guess this week, I'm going to do 2 videos. One is going to be released, I believe, on Wednesday. And that is going to be an unboxing video, a special unboxing video, because I have some stuff coming up this week I'm going to be running around for, and I want to make sure I get a video out at a regularly scheduled time. So I'm going to have an unboxing video of a dear friend of mine's book release that I'm very excited about. So I'm going to keep it as vague as I can for now, and that will be out Wednesday. On Friday, I'm going to do a Slump Busters video. So basically, my top favorite books or authors that I would turn to if I'm going through a reading slump. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is I know, speaking to some people on the Discord, some people are falling behind on certain read-alongs, and people are like, oh, I really hope I can catch up, this and that. And there's always a tendency to want to read the next thing. There's always FOMO. Like I check out the books that everybody else is recommending. I'm like, I wish I could join that read-along, blah, blah, blah. And I think that has its advantages and disadvantages. I mean, advantages, of course, being you end up reading more books and get to share it with people. The disadvantage, of course, is it's ripe for reading burnout. And I could always see it lurking in the periphery of my vision, trying to tackle fantasy series. So I want to talk about a couple authors that I go to that always kind of seem to help me take away the reading slump. So that is one that's going to be out on Friday. So let's talk a little bit about the last segment of the video, which I always like to do, which is the On the Music Front segment. So a couple things happened this last week. We had the Idan trilogy theme recording session with Philip Chase's eldest daughter, Rohana, and she's an amazing cellist, and we recorded it at a studio on campus where Philip teaches. And we had the amazing Todd Collins help out with kind of facilitating the recording session and everything. I got a chance to listen in on Zoom from here. So it was a delightful experience, having her record on this theme, and it just sounds so much better. Her playing is very soulful, and it's just lyrical, and it's just, I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So short answer to that is we are moving along to the final home stretch of this. I'm going to be sending it to Philip soon, the final mix and everything, and can't wait for that to be released. And I'm sure he'll announce something on his channel when that all happens. But that was the first thing. The second thing is, I forget if I told you guys, but my wife recently started a game studio with some Riot Games employees, and they're kind of working on their game. So I'm going to be working on some music for that. So starting on kind of the main theme of it last week, and I'm going to continue on that this week. So I'll keep you all posted when I can share more about that. The third thing is I'll be pitching on a bunch of projects. And then the fourth thing, which I'm super excited about, also a little nervous about, to be honest, is the SCL Awards, the Society of Composer and Lyricist Awards. My score for Dead Whisper is now up in the same category against Nosferatu and Inside Out 2. So we got our work cut out for us, but we did a good voting campaign session. I had a bunch of videos talking about the inside process of scoring that, and I'm posting the link here if you want to check that out as well. So that award show is going to be on Wednesday, so I have to buy a new suit or something, or get my just figure out what I'm going to wear that night. But I'm very excited about that. That's going to be a really fun time. I think Hans Zimmer's supposed to be there, so hopefully I can get a picture with him. But I'll keep you all posted on how that all goes. But big busy week for me. How has this week been for you? Did you read anything cool that you want to talk about? Let me know in the comments. I love talking with you all. That's the most fun about this channel, is getting to chat with you. And I feel very fortunate that we've made friendships over this channel and in this community. So thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other always. And I'll see you on Wednesday with the next video. Take care.